Hey, everybody. See if I can't. There we go. Hey, what's going on, Marie? Hey, Marie. Bob, signing from Vermont there. Rob, Central Massachusetts. Just got off the horn with a guy from Marblehead, Massachusetts. Matter of fact, one of my lights went out and I didn't have a chance to replace the bulb. And so I'm using one of these old school, new school LED lights. That's a little bit of a different light there. So appreciate y'all being here. What's going on in Vermont here today, Bob? How's getting snow up there or what? Marie, I always forget. You're from Pittsburgh, is that right? Marie, where are you from? Where are you calling from or coming or logging in from? So, how many years? GWTV. Hey, what's going on, Jerry? Right on, man. Jerry's got a Plymouth, Mass. All right. Where the Plymouth Rock was, as you all know. And again, sorry about the. Maybe sit back a little bit. What's going on, Tom? Nashville, TA, from PEI, everyone's best friend from the Great Northeast, Canada. Ross is on board. That's fantastic. 758, Kevin in the house from Silicon Valley Shoebox. Bruce with the bear population running rampant in his house. We got Orlando from Debbie. All right, Michigan. Santan Valley, Arizona. No snow in the forecast. Oh, man. Did you know this has been one of the wettest years on record, which is interesting. What's going on, Daniel? Carrie, Connecticut. Hi, Rom. Dunedin, Florida. Indianapolis. It'll be snowing in Massachusetts pretty soon. Yeah. San Diego. Mitch is from San Diego. Right on. All right, cool. And Texas, Monty. Yeah. Having Ruby's barbecue tomorrow. And before we get cracking, I always tell you good folks that if you ever go down to Texas, and I don't like Austin. I just doesn't do anything for me. Georgia, right on. By the way, if you don't mind a thumbs up, you can hear me. Mike Watson from Harrisonburg. Right on, man. Rich, Vermont is warm. If you all can hear that, just give me a thumbs up if you would. But down outside of Austin, about 30 miles south, the Salt Lick Barbecue. About 10 years ago, we went there, probably less than 10 years ago. $25, all you could eat, the best barbecue you've ever had in your life. And they had hammocks out back. You could literally eat for $25 as much as you possibly could right on for thanks and go take a nap in a hammock and come back and eat more for the same price. That just, man, I tell you what, man. Calgary, right on. Calgary, Ron. All right. One of these days, I got to get up to Calgary, man. For some reason, I've always been – for some reason, Calgary, the upper Rocky Mountains have always been appealed to me. I don't know why. Never been there. And then Jimmy's in the house, right on from Salt Lick is better than Rudy's. Yep, Jimmy from Georgia. Oh man, Salt Lick is. We went with a couple guys. This guy from the Army, this guy from the Marine Corps, and they were drinking. I was a designated driver because I'm always a designated driver. And I remember, I think they probably spent $50, and they just were drinking and eating and drinking and eating. It was, man, I tell you what, Huntsville, Alabama, right on. West Texas. Oh, the best barbecue I've ever had. Haven't had anything come close to Salt Lake, that's for sure. Rudy's is good. It was compared to Salt Lake, plain. But versus Franklin, never been to Franklin's, never heard of Franklin's. Ron says, come up. Ron, you're from Calgary, right? Is that same Calgary, Ron? Yeah, right on, man. Calgary. I don't know why I've always got to be up there for some reason. Nuts. All right, so 8:01. So let's get cracking. Richmond, Virginia. My brother lives in Richmond, man. That's for sure. Just got off the horn with a guy, and today, and I deal. I've had a number of this kind of issue with people. Actually, it's very interesting. Wisconsin in the house, right on. Kernersville, North Carolina. Mark in Kernersville. Yeah, great. I'm not sure where Franklin's. And anyway. It's interesting. So this guy, his wife's from the Philippines, and he's going to move to the Philippines at some point in the future. If I had 2 guys, I've had 10. When I say guys, I'm talking husband and wives, and moving to the Philippines or Thai. I don't think I've had anyone married a Thai lady, even though my uncle and his wife have lived in Thailand. Essentially since I've been alive. So I'm very familiar with Thai, that well, not very familiar. I'm familiar enough with the culture of Thailand to be always had a soft spot in my heart. But anyway, so they have they're going to move to the Philippines. This guy's telling me he's going to be living on this place 200 yards from the beach. Basically, he's going to live off $20,000 a year. They have rice paddies or rice farming out back, as much rice you could possibly have as you could possibly eat. The biggest expense is air conditioning at $100 a month, and that's window unit, no central air. And I was like, man, that's not a bad life, man. Wyoming, right on, Wyoming. That's not a bad life. $20,000 a year in the Philippines, and I said, geez, you know, only thing is, I don't know. I'm sure they're not friendly on firearm ownership, but man, that's not a bad place to be. Living right out on the beach, you go down, the guys come in with these nets full of food, and they, you know, from the water, they just drop it off at a table. You go buy some freaking fresh crabs or whatever they farm out there. I don't know. I guess he was telling me, though, they don't, Michigan, they don't, Houston, they don't have cows out there, so no beef. I guess they use water buffalo, and he said that's a little bit of a leaner meat than beef. See, I like my fat on my beef, that's for sure. So whenever you're making brisket, make sure you keep the fat on there. Don't take the fat off. But I'm telling you, man, my book is about, I'm literally in it right now. As we're sitting here today, I'm in another Huntsville. We got 2 Huntsville, Alabama here, another Houston, right on. This sucker is done. It's done. I'm putting it together today on Amazon Kindle. I'm having a hard time actually getting the specs on this, which I'll figure out tomorrow. But it's yeah, work hard and millions of welfare depend on you. Lee, I'll ask that in a question. I'll answer that in just a second. A good question about ESP Planner. But I'm done with it. It's done. The whole thing's edited. It's done. It's ready to rock and roll. It's got to figure out the specs on on Kindle. And the irony of it all, when I published my tax bomb book, it was July 16th of last year, almost a full year ago to the day. And thankfully, I did some videos from my Josh Scanlon YouTube channel, which I don't post very often. Just a reminder how to do this. So it's pretty interesting. All right, Chris spent the day in Portland, Maine. Right on, man. Probably got snow up there. Another one for Boston. Man, how many people in Massachusetts on the old Josh Scanlon or the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel? That's crazy. But anyway, the whole point was this book is about ready to be done. It's all done. It's about ready to be published. If I can just figure out the Kindle stuff, because it's giving me a hard time with some of my downloads in terms of the images I use. I'll figure it out, but it'll be ready to done hopefully tomorrow. We had Lee B says, have you ever used the ESP Planner Max 5 from my man Larry Kotlikoff over at Maximize Your Social Security, or Maximize Your Social Security? The answer is yes. Colorado Springs. There's Tina, right on. And TMK. I did, Lee, and I liked it. Rapid City. Yep, Rapid City rated well. It's and always in the back of my mind, that whole area going up that upper Midwest through Calgary. They call it Calgary. Our man, who was it who said about Calgary? That's why I listened to Barry Melrose. He says it's Calgary, Central Illinois. Hot PA. There you go. Is that San Antonio, right? Is that SAT San Antonio? So anyway, the ESP Planner, I used it, Lee, and I liked it. I was using that compared to the same time I was using the Right Capital. The drawback about the ESP, and this is a drawback about a lot of financial planning. If you have a Fidelity account, by the way, I don't know if you have to have a managed account or if you just be a retail account. I don't know. But they bought out eMoney, and eMoney, let me turn, well, I guess I'm right. They bought out eMoney. I just feel like it's dark in here because I only got the one light. Like I said, when I started, the other light, the bulb went out, and that's the last of my incandescent light bulbs. I don't throw them away, so I just haven't had a chance to replace it yet. eMoney bought out, or Fidelity bought eMoney. And if you have a Fidelity account, that eMoney software is freaking fantastic. It's fantastic. It's the best on the market other than the tax planning. And that's what I like the best, the tax planning. So eMoney is fantastic. ESP Planner I like a lot for Social Security and consumption smoothing. And Lee, that's what Kotlikoff does. He does a consumption smoothing, which I talk a lot about. My book is getting ready to come out. And in fact, going back to Ty Bernicki, Again, this is just literally what I talk about in my book that's coming out. You can retire on Social Security. What Ty Bernicki found when he wrote the article, for me, it was a seminal piece I've ever read in the Journal for Financial Planning in 2005, is that he noticed that most of his new retirees were not spending relative to what their plan called for. So their spending was up here, but their plan said you had to spend here. And then he said what would happen later on is most of his older retirees could spend way up here, but they're only spending there. And he said there's this huge disconnect, a seesaw. And then if you combine that with Larry Kotlikoff and Scott Burns, and I don't know if Scott Burns is still part of the system, but he was a co-author with Kotlikoff's Spend Till the End book, which I got on the shelf back there. It's called Consumption Smoothing. And what we can do is maybe save less here, and that way we'll smooth out the consumption. So we save less, consume it while we need it most, and it'll level itself off. And so the ESP planner looks optimistic, but the reason for that is called the consumption smoothing model. Yeah, Mary, I got my friend Splinty right here. Here's old Splinty. It's been 4 weeks now, so I'm hoping I don't need to get Splinty on too much anymore. We shall see. I still need to use when I go to sleep at night, but hopefully in 2 weeks I'll be gone from it. Idaho, right on. I'm a fan of the ESP planner and the MaxFi. It's $40 for a year for you as an individual to use. So the 3 plans are the Right Capital, which I use and I like. And if y'all want to pay me $150, I'll give you access to it for sure. I don't give you any service on that. I got an email guy today asked me about how does it do with inherited IRA, and I'll do a video on that because it's a good question. How do you do it? It's easy once you know it, but until you know it, you don't know how to do it. But I'm not going to sit there and say, Mrs. Smith, do this, not that. But, it was a good email, and I'll do a video on the Right Capital software, how to do an inherited IRA. So because I've had that question a couple of times. So if you get questions that come routinely, I certainly do videos on that. But that's for the Right Capital. I charge $150. You have unencumbered access to do it however you want. You have access to it until I decide no longer to pay for it. And for me, I love it because it has the tax stuff. And that's what gets me fired up. I love the tax stuff. A guy emailed me the other day about doing financial plans for him. He just wanted to know the best time to do Roth conversion. I was like, dude, this is freaking, I'll pay you to do that. Not really. But I say, man, I love doing that stuff. But the e-money stuff over at Fidelity, man, I'm telling you, that's a wonderful thing. When it comes to estate planning, the e-money blows away Right Capital, blows it away. Estate planning. So if you're looking at estate planning scenarios, that's when I had e-money before until I went to Right Capital, and that was one issue as it came to estate planning. I was like, man, I wish I could still have that. The very significant estate planning tool is fantastic. Tax is not nearly as good as Right Capital. Social Security, Kotlikoff, ESP planner is by far and away the best for sure. It's better than the Right Capital. Better than e-money. And so those are the 3. You got e-money for Fidelity for free. Use it. Right Capital, for me, it's not for free. And you can't get it. There's no consumer model. And then ESP planner is $40 a year. That's nothing. That's money well spent in my opinion. Let's see. Okay. So I hope that helps, Lee. I'm a fan. Anything that Kotlikoff does, I'm a fan. Did you know, just real quick, and I don't have it here, but I quoted in my book about Kotlikoff. He had written this article in 2001 where he talked about, I did a video on this not too long ago, but he said this, it was him, a couple other it's not professors, a couple of people from the Cleveland Federal Reserve Board. And they had written this article that 401k contributions actually increases taxation and decreases consumption for middle and lower income people. And that was in 2001, June of 2001. In that same article, he talks about how the increase in Social Security taxation has hurt the savings rate. And he didn't say hurt, I'm saying that, but everyone's all, oh my goodness, the savings rate is way down compared to what it used to be. And Kotlikoff in 2001 said, because we're paying so much into Social Security, we either are planning on getting a lot from it, or we don't have any wherewithal to put more personal savings in there. And I just, I unequivocally agree with that assessment 100%. You only have a finite amount of money. It's a scarce resource. Scarcity in economics is what drives your financial decisions. In this case, you say I have to pay 7.65 to Social Security and HI hospital insurance, and my employer has to pay the same, but I still have to pay the bills, right? And so basically, Kolokov was saying, as those taxes have gone up and up and up, is the scarce resource that we all have as an employee has limited our ability to save money. And I just find that absolutely incredibly prescient, however you say, from 2001. The guy's just freaking phenomenal. A lot of people can't stand old Kolokov. It's weird. He's a rabble rouser. So just be advised. He'll say stuff that pisses you off. Definitely not a right winger. In fact, it still ticked me off. He when Trump was running, Kolokov, like all economists did, they said, "Oh, Trump, you want to limit immigration? That's xenophobic and whatnot." And Kolokov fell for the same. That's like, come on, man. Just stop with that stuff. Just to stop. But Kolokov fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, and that ticked me off. But because the idea that you're appealing to this white working class only because Trump had something to go against the grain on immigration. I said, that's just nuts. That's just so silly to say. And the fact that Kolokov fell for that I was disappointed. But look, man, I've said stuff that I'm sure ticks you guys off on occasion, if you can imagine that. Don't get me talking about climate change. Shh. I just lost half my audience there. All right. What else we got on here, man? Work harder, millions of welfare depend on you. I'd say work harder because, or I got a friend, my good friend in Louisiana, Catholic Cajun. He's beautiful, just as Pregs with her 6. So you Catholics, Mormons, you Muslims out there, keep putting them out there because we need it for Social Security. Social Security is contingent on you putting those kids out there. So keep it up. That's the thing about you atheists, man. Yeah, you're not sharing the burden. Let's just put it that way. You're relying on us, the folks, the religious types, to share the burden of future Social Security. So you atheists, if you want to commit to social justice, start spouting kids, man. We need them to be out there to work and pay 7.65 in Social Security. Spent the weekend. Okay, we talked about that. Rapid City will be free on. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. So it'll absolutely be free on Kindle Unlimited. The cover, I wish I could show you what the cover looks like. It's fantastic. Our good friend Mary on here was a big influence on helping me I didn't design it, but let's just put it this way. It's a freaking awesome cover. I love it. It's exactly what I was hoping for. And it's great. And it's funny because I needed some help on that because my whole premise was a little bit, it was too restricting and it wasn't going to have as a product. I can't wait. This is my favorite piece of work I've ever done. I love it. In fact, I think about it all the time, this book. I can't wait for it to be out there. And the footnotes are just, okay, I'll stop. I'm stoked. Lighting is good. Right on, Jerry. Appreciate that. The average wage in Rapid City is $40K. Man, that's not so bad. Don't have any double A baseball, though, right? You mentioned before you're totally into VTV. Does that include your taxable? I don't have a taxable brokerage, Robert. All of my stuff is a 401k, which is now an IRA at USA, which holds VTV. I would not hold VTV in a taxable brokerage account. You forget, man. We didn't have any money for the longest time. It's only by divine intervention that I found my way to USA, making a hell of a lot more money than I ever deserved. That's for sure. And if you would have saw me 10 years ago and fast forward to where I was when I left USA, it was insane. And, that's one of the benefits about working for corporate America is they'll pay you big, man. They pay you big for work that you're not really doing. A lot of times, hell, I was making a hell of a lot more money than these roofers out here, and the roofers working a hell of a lot harder than I was. So the idea that hard work leads to wealth is silly because these roofers out here in freaking middle of Georgia in a hot summer day, those guys are making freaking not making anything relative to what I was in a nice air conditioned unit at USAA shuffling papers essentially. So, but before that, we had no money. Basically, my wife and I both come from poverty. We never had money ever. My wife was she was working as a bond analyst for a mutual fund company in Phoenix. I was working as a phone jockey at Schwab. And when we had our first, Maddie, she quit her job, to raise the children. And so basically I was making, $35 a year at Schwab. And then, that's all the income we had. We were renting back then. And then we moved back to Virginia, had 3 more in succession. And that was just the most we ever made up until USA I made $54,000 in 2006 or something like that, or 2005, 2006. And then after that, it was just down. I mean, we weren't making crap. No, I mean, we had no money. But that's the thing. When you come from that, it doesn't bother you so much. I mean, you'd like to have more. But, I remember getting that tax cut that Bush had in 2003, I think, it wasn't a tax cut. It was like $150 per taxpayer in your household or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was $300. I remember freaking thinking, oh, thank God Bush. And that, look, is a bribe. No other way around. That Bush, that's the idea. Bush was a fiscal conservative, silly. That was dumb. But he's trying to stimulate the economy, which is stupid. Anyone who studies basic economics knows just to give people money is not how you build long-term wealth in the economic environment. But when we got that, it was huge, man. I remember getting our tax refunds, $500 or something like that, back in 2005 and 6, and we needed that money. And we had a mortgage. We had a small house in Dayton, Virginia. Basically it was a 3-bed, 1-bath ranch on 1,200 square foot on probably, I think we had about a third of an acre. Nothing fancy there. And I remember we had to get the roof fixed, and we didn't have any money for that. We all went on a credit card. It's crazy. And it was tough. It was tough. And I think my wife was working at that point as a teller just to try to help us bring more money in. I was working as a stockbroker, just trying to meet people. And I was freaking busting it's America, man. It's the way and I'm sure we all have stories like that. But that's the thing, is when you come from that kind of background, you don't sit there and think you're a failure or anything. You just recognize you're trying to make it through the day. So I found my way to USAA, and my income freaking doubled like overnight. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then, and I talked about this in my first book, Strategic Money Planning, right here, how I had we moved to Texas, and I couldn't believe the size of the houses that we could buy for basically twice what we're paying for a house back in Virginia, and is reverse sticker shock. I said, that's it, $300,000 for this, crazy. But unfortunately, we spent, and we bought because we could afford it, and that was turned out to work out, but that could have been a bad move. But long story short, it's the first time we ever had any money. So from 2009 to 2017, we're making good money for sure, real good money. It felt good, but all going to 401k. So we didn't have any savings in a brokerage account at all, and we still don't. We're still getting by. Actually, this business has done much better than I would have ever thought. I highly suspect you'll never see me flying a private plane, because I just has no desire for that. But it's doing well. It's doing well. I could not be happier. Let's just put it that way. It's nuts. And the proof is when you do something you like. I love doing this. I talked to the guy today. Love that. I love it. I get paid to do what I love to do. It's freaking insane. And for you all to be here watching old Josh yap with his George Mason t-shirt on a Sunday night, it's freaking nuts. Let's see. Yeah, medians are better than averages. I completely agree. Medians are better than, I have to say this again. Medians are better than averages, but I just telling you right now, I did a video the other day using the BLS numbers, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I'll try to articulate better. And they do it in deciles and they do in quintiles, all right, for a lot of their incomes and a lot of their expenditures. And I talked in the video how some of the income that they use on the BLS is derived from the census, the current population survey, CPS, from the Census Bureau. And we know that has a lot of limitations there. So I don't pay any mind to the income just because they have no ability to ascertain if the income is from an IRA or if it's from a Roth. They just don't know. And so because that, it's not worth it. The expenditures are different though. And so the expenditures, when they use those deciles or quintiles, or even quartiles, but usually deciles and quintiles is better because you don't need so much a median in there because it's only from 15,000 to 25,000. So averages in those quintiles are just fine. And I use those BLS numbers a lot to get a gauge of expenditures and whatnot. And they use averages as opposed to medians by and large. The Census Bureau and the current population survey and other stuff on the Census Bureau stuff, there's tons of information on there for you data geeks. I mean, it's just tons. I talk a lot about this in my book. They do have median expenditures on homes. And this is what I talk about in my book quite a bit. The median expenditure for folks with a mortgage on homes is $1,500, all right, a month. The median expenditure for folks with no mortgage is $442. And so if you think about it, and we'll just use the median household income, and this is just for the entirety of the U.S. The median household income is $60,000. So if the median household expenditure for folks with a mortgage is $1,500, that's $18,000 a year right there. Where the median household income is $60,000. Doesn't take a rocket science. All you need is this little computer. Say, okay, 18,000. Oops, I got blood. 18,000 divided by 60. So that means your median expenditure for the median household income, if you have a mortgage, 30% of your money is going to cover your home. That's bad, and that's I just thought that was pretty interesting. So the median is incredibly important for sure. It is anyway. The whole point about that is the issue that I hammer all the time about property tax. I mean, not property, homeowners. The cost of homeowners is when you have a mortgage is significantly higher for the median household. Thus, you go to mortgage, you get rid of your mortgage and don't rent, you're going to be in a whole lot better shape than someone who's the other way around. Does it pull the taxes? Yeah, it does. No, it does, Rich. So Rich says, I noticed the right capital software when using the Roth conversion. It absolutely does. You just looking at that deeper. I'm telling you, it does. And that's now if you have, all right, well, I will tell you, if you have a couple things with the right capital software, a couple drawbacks, and this has nothing to do with the Roth conversion so much. It doesn't allow you to do, when you hit retirement, to say, I want to take my money from my tax deferred account before I take it from my taxable account and my Roth later. It doesn't allow you to pick and choose. It'll simply do prorated. So if I need $10, I'll take $3.30 from my prorated account, $3.33 from my Roth, $3.33 from my traditional, $3.33 from my taxable. Or I do it the way I think they call it efficient. I can't remember what they call it, but they do it where it comes from your tax deferred, your taxable, tax deferred, and Roth. Right capital doesn't allow you to do that. So going back to Roth conversions, if you have the money in cash or a taxable account, I think it's a taxable account, but I know it's cash, it will take the taxes on those Roth conversions from cash. I can't remember if it does from taxable account off the top of my head. But if you don't, it will absolutely say, I want to convert $150,000. It costs me $30,000 in taxes. It'll have $180,000 removed from the traditional IRA or 401k. Mountain Home, Ohio. Is that where they got the Mountain Home, the freeze-dried food up there? Damn Surfer, Mountain Home, Ohio. Because I get a lot of that stuff, actually. All right, let's see here. Hold on just a second. Well, Harry from Austin. I just was bagging on Austin. There's my man, Harry. I'm not bagging on you, Harry. Just bagging. There we go. Damn Surfer. I don't know if you can surf in Mountain Home, Idaho. Idaho, excuse me. I will only contribute 22 years to Social Security as a minimum payout. All right, that's, man, freaking great question. All right, this is a great question. It frustrates me, not you guys, but it frustrates me, the lack of understanding how Social Security works. Some guy just emailed me the other day, or even today. I can't remember. It was about Social Security. He was so ignorant about it. And again, ignorant doesn't mean you're stupid. Ignorant just means you don't know. That's literally the meaning. But I was just like, damn, man, you're not to say this, but I'm like, you just don't know how it works. So, which is too bad. So he thought his Social Security wasn't going to be much because he only had 25 years of work or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, so just remember, you take your 22 years and you index them for your earliest year of eligibility. So my earliest year of eligibility is when I turned 62. So I go on the Social Security website, and again, it's all in my book, and I'll show you exactly how to do this. I guess this is turning to be a sales pitch for my book. Anyway, so you go on there and you go, but you don't have to buy the stupid book or whatever. Just go on Social Security. What is your earliest year of eligibility? There is a calculator. You say, I was born in 1970. My earliest year of eligibility is when I turned 62. And it's going to give you the indexing numbers for that specific year of birth. And now you know all those 22 years that you worked. What are you going to times the money you made in 1999 by, i.e. your indexing amount, to get your index earnings for that year? So you take all 22 years, you index them with your whatever the index ratings are, and you times those together, then you add all those up. All right. Now, 22 years will give you, we're going to take our trusty calculator, we're going to go 22 times 12. I got 264 months of making money, 264 months. But Social Security will take your 22 years, index them, add them all together, and then they're going to divide it by 420. Because 420 is your 35 years of work that they take into consideration, and you happen to have 13 years with big fat goose eggs, but they're still using 35 years. So we take 35 times 12, that's 420. We're going to take your 1.5 million of total indexed earnings. I'm just using that for example, and we're going to divide that by 420. So we know your AIME is going to be $3,571. It's tough for me to write, so I'm not going to write down. But if you have 1.5 million of indexed earnings, regardless if it's 22 years, 35 years, 55 years, 15 years, it doesn't matter. If you have 1.5 million of indexed earnings, total indexed earnings, we know for a fact what your AIME is, your average index monthly earnings. And we're going to take that 1.5 million, we're going to divide by 420, and that's going to give us that amount right there, which is 3,571. We take 3,571, we subtract 926 because that's the first bend point. The first bend point is 926, all right? So that leaves us $2,645. Bear with me just a second. There's a method to my madness. $2,645 times that by 0.32 because that's the second bend point, 0.32. That gives us $846 for the second bend point plus the 926. We times that by 0.9, which is 833. And so we know your Social Security, your PIA, will be $1,679 at your full retirement age. So it's once you figure this out, it's easy. Yeah, literally it's easy. And I'm not saying that like trying to be cocky or anything, but just do it and do it again and do it again and do it again. And you're like, okay, I get how this works. It takes time, man. I mean, I'm a freaking meathead. And I said, okay, or a lunkhead, whatever. And I said, okay, but you start doing it repetitively enough, you're like, okay, I get it now. So it takes time. Then the question I hear a lot of times, what if I worked another 5 years? What does that do for my Social Security? Well, you just do the same thing. You add those 5 years to the 22 that you have, index them, add them all together, and divide by 420. You're always dividing by 420. So in this case, your PIA is $1,679. That is the amount you will get at your full retirement age. Now, it could be less if you take it at 62. It could be more if you take it at 70. But the number that you got to find out is your total index earnings. 1.5 million, 8,000 billion. There's a max will be because of Social Security cap. So don't get down on yourself. Two things. If you look at your old Social Security numbers, you say, oh man, I only made $15,000 in 1995. I'm not going to get paid crap for Social Security. That's simply not true. And secondly, if you only have 22 years of earnings, don't get down on yourself either because they're going to take those 22 years. They're going to do what I just said. Yeah, looking for a list of states that allow Medicare U65. Is that under 65? I don't know. Medicare, I don't know what you. The only thing I think is under 65. I don't think they're. I just don't know. Rocks. Oregon, Jeff in Oregon. Glad to see the shoulders improving. If inflation projected by the Fed to rise at 2%, why set Social Security increases at 3% of projections? Well, I don't, man. In my right capital, I'm using Social Security at 2.6. I'm using inflation. I'm not sure if that's what you asked me, Jeff, but if you're asking me what I use in my projections, I use Social Security at 2.6 cost of living adjustments, because that's what the trustees reports say. And I use 3% in inflation. And now I use 5%. And I also use 5% for healthcare inflation too. So just as an FYI, I do want to talk about this on Right Capital. Hey, I just got 200 people. I never had 200 people at one time. Thank you. I just, it's freaking crazy. Thank you. What was I going to say? Oh, so I use 7.5% on stocks. All right. And I think that might be 8% international, 7.5. Either way, 7.5% is my projected returns on stocks. 3.5 or 3, I can't remember. I think it's 3.5 on bonds and 1% on cash. All right. So just as an FYI for all of you all using the Right Capital, I put those numbers in. All right. Right Capital has a different numbers. I use essentially the Bogle, the Siegel, and the Schiller models. And I use those to project the Vanguard models essentially. I pretty much use the Vanguard models. Let's put it that way. 7.5% on stocks, 3.5 on bonds, 1% on cash. All right, just keep that in the back of your mind. A standard deviation on stocks is 15%, and that just means the variability of the price around the mean return. Just I don't want to get too deep into that. That's how Monte Carlos are run, by the way. They take your average return, they take your volatility or variation of those average returns, they get you that bell curve, the Gaussian curve that says you have a 66% chance in the first standard deviation, a 95% chance in the second, and 99.6 in the third, or something like that. We don't need to bore ourselves to death on this, but that's a bell curve essentially. And that bell curve is based on those two projections. It's based on your stocks, your bonds, your cash, and the standard deviation on stocks, bonds, and cash. I think my standard deviation on bonds, I think is 5, and cash, I think is like 0.5 or something like that. So I'm using very conservative numbers, relatively speaking, to historical norms. All right, so conservative numbers. So if I don't want to be in the business of whistling past a graveyard. That doesn't do anybody any good. So my projections are underwhelming when it comes to investment returns, underwhelming when it comes to Social Security cost of living adjustments, and yet over on inflation and over on healthcare. So we are erring on caution, if that makes sense. So when you run the right capital software, just be advised, you know that my stuff is a lot less aggressive than maybe some others. And just on a side note too, when you run that software, I don't include investment fees in there at all. So if you are hiring a money manager, and I can't imagine many of you are, but if you were, you're not using a fee, you're making a big mistake, because that fee's got to come from someplace. All right, so that's going to come from your portfolio, come from your net worth, something. So just to make sure, there's a place in there under profile expenses that you can put AUM fees, assets under management fees. So if you're paying 1% to some guy to run your money, you better put that in there, because that has a big impact on your overall returns. Do I know anything about Kemper Insurance? I don't, Marie. Yeah, no, I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. Spend more, enjoy your life early in retirement. I don't know if you should spend. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, don't light cigars with $100 bills, but sure. Yes, spend more, but enjoy life early. I just don't spend more where you're going to be a pauper later on. But don't follow the model that says spend less here so I can have all this money left in the future. That doesn't. My book will be available, Pat, on Amazon ASAP. I'm telling you, it'll be out there. I am a little bit concerned with a couple of the visuals I'm using, so I'm trying to figure out a way to get those better. If not, it'll just be charts. And if you see this book right here, yeah, so that came out. I don't know why that one did. I guess. All right, so you'll see I have tons of these kind of things on here. Tables. If you're a table kind of person, I have tons of tables. And I have some visuals that just didn't come out. A couple of them just didn't come out the way I was hoping, and I'm gonna have to figure out that. I mean, because they're effective and they're important, but we shall see. But those will be on Amazon by week's end. Absolutely, I'm held by tomorrow. Hello over the Georgia mountains, Blairsville, Fred. The solar eclipse in Austin. Damn surfer. Just remember, in Austin, they'll keep you weird. They think being some lefty loon is weird. I say, that's what all the cool kids are trying to be lefty loons now. The weird guys are the people who say, hey, let's just go to work, keep our head down, and pay our taxes. Destin, yeah, man, freaking Destin. Can't find a better place than Destin, that's for sure. Crumule, what the hell's a crumule job, Matt and Tracy? It's a crapule job, man. Get it right. All right, so he's quitting that crumule job this month. Appreciate the sound advice and many pep talks, Josh. You got it. Bruce from Rochester, New York. Yes, sir. The Rochester Red Wings, the Rochester Americans, Intel Country, Hillsboro, and John. Right in, man. John's in the house. All right, Hillsboro, Oregon. We are expected to get a rate cut in July. What is your take on the stock market? I can't remember a time when the Fed has been this supportive of the stock market. My take is what I learned from Charles Schwab many a year ago. Not that he told me this, but when I worked at Schwab, he always say, "What's our take of the market?" It goes up and down. I just remember the Fed, but the Fed isn't just supportive of the stock market. This is the thing I think people overlook. They inflate all asset classes, and that's not just stocks and bonds. That's real estate as well. I mean, so you got stocks, bonds, and real estate. All of these things are inflated. I mean, it's just what the irony of it all is. Of the three major asset classes, stocks, bonds, and real estate, what's the cheapest of the three? I'd say stocks. People are like, but the PE ratio is a cape. The cyclically adjusted price earnings ratio is blah, blah, blah. But what the hell's a freaking, if you did the inverted ratio of the bond yields, what are they? They're huge. They're through the roof. I mean, even today, the 10-year treasury, I've been saying this literally, I mean, it dropped below 2 the other day. Now it's above that. Now it's still 2.1. So if you have the inverted yield on the 10-year treasury relative to the PE of stocks, the 10-year treasury is incredibly more expensive than stocks. The idea that stocks are the only game in town that gets inflated by cheap money, quantitative easing, Fed, whatever, rate cuts. I'm not saying this you, my man. I'm just saying I hear this all the time. The stocks are inflated. I'm like, well, what else are you going to do with the money? I mean, you go out and buy this house across the street. Hell, you're going to pay a pretty penny for that. You're going to go buy some bonds? What the hell are you doing that? I mean, what else are we going to do? Go buy timber? Because that's what Swanson or whatever his name is at Yale did? Okay. I mean, go buy North Alabama, buy some timberland. I got no problem with that. But let's just stop this idea that stocks are the only game in town that's being inflated. Everything's inflated. It's crazy to me. So for me, when you look at PE ratios of stocks, and we're going to look at the forward projections, let's see, 17, 18. Even if you look at the trailing 12 months, where you look at 20. And the historical S&P 500 PE is about 15.5. I mean, yeah, that's higher than average. But the bonds used to be able to get 5.5% on a 10-year treasury. You can't get that anymore. So I'm thinking, okay, I can pay, we'll just say $20 for every $1 of earnings for the S&P 500. I can pay 20. Or I could pay $100 and get $2 of interest on the 10-year treasury, locking up my money for 10 years. Before I could pay $15 to get $1 of earnings of the S&P 500. Okay. Before I could pay $100 and get $6 or $5.50 of interest on the 10-year treasury. What's cheaper? Well, the stocks are inherently. So my take on the stock market is I got no bonds. I do have a little bit of cash. No, it's not even CDs, cash. Not because I'm trying to wait for keep my powder dry. I just keep cash because I like the idea of having cash. Cash makes me happy. ESP costs, maybe $79. That seems like it was higher, man. I thought it was $40. Okay. When you say get Fidelity, what exactly do you mean my employer does have Fidelity? If you have a Fidelity account, you have access to e-money. I know Fidelity owns e-money, and I know for a fact that if you're, I don't know if every single plan does, but people who have access to Fidelity through either 401k plans or their own personal investing have access to e-money. I'm just drinking hot tea, by the way. I don't know if you had to. I don't drink coffee at night. People say you talk too fast. It's like, man, you should light up on the sugar in your coffee. I don't drink any sugar in my coffee. I'm just old Josh. Anyway, so Fidelity. You got to ask if you don't have access to it, find out how do you hey, I want to have access to e-money. E-money software is fantastic. Was the ETA for your book? Yeah, ASAP, man. This week, I'm telling you right now. Hopefully tomorrow. Greens from St. Paul, Minnesota, highly taxed, poor place to retire. Could not agree more. Is e-money free? You'd have to check with the Fidelity. But yes, I don't know why they charge it. What kind of coffee you drink? I drink. Starbucks French roast, not Starbucks, a Walmart French roast, Jose. And I also drink, I'll listen more even if climate change is discussed. I drink a Walmart French roast, and then if I can get Starbucks on sale, that Verona Dark, whatever it's called, at Costco, I'll drink that too. It's hot out here in Oregon. Never been hot before. I can't remember more than a few months in the past. Why is it hot? Hey man, I got no problem with it. Climate change is whatever. It bores me. Atheism, that doesn't bore me as much. It's fun I enjoy a talk with atheists. I think it's interesting. The climate change people, I think, are so far gone that there's not much of debate there. It's almost like the people want to mandate vaccines. I don't get that. The atheists, on the other hand, I think they're actually well thought. I think a lot of the atheists, like Styx Hexhammer 666, I think he knows more about religion than most of us do. And I think a lot of atheists are like that, frankly, which is good, because then you can get the arguments that they're bringing on from Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, to solidify your own faith. So if you're a Christian and you don't have any background in it, you might be challenged to hear these guys say, oh yeah, the Big Bang, yeah. How did God, like the show I was talking about last week? Oh my goodness, who existed before God? I don't have an argument for that, so there must not be a God. It's silly. But it's a good thing for a Christian to have, to be able to say, hey, what is the basis of my faith? I mean, let's be frank on this. Don't just because some guy gave you a book when you're 7 years old, said open up this book, or you went to church, you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, just come on. That's not going to do any good anymore. It used to be when Christians were dominant. Now we're definitely the underbelly of society anymore. So if you're going to be a Christian, you're trying to enhance your own faith and do what the Great Commission says, to preach, to let those people know the good news. Well, you better know what you're talking about, because this day and age, you are on the outside looking in. You can't just say, well, everyone else does it. No, it doesn't work like that. Hey, New Zealand, right on, man. Trey Harris. Who is telling me about New Zealand? You can go down there and work on the farms. A lot of English or EU people go down to New Zealand and work on the farms. That's fantastic. Mike Carpenter gave me $1.99. Mucho gracias, Mike. Patty, live in Ohio and retiring 5 years on Roth conversions worth of moving to it. That's a tough one, Patty. Yeah, that's a tough one. So the question, my friends, Patty J in Ohio says, look, she's going to retire and move to a no income tax state. Is it worth doing Roth conversions now while she's still paying the tax to the good governor of Ohio? Maybe. It just it's a lot going on. That's one I'm probably would say probably not. If someone put a gun to my head and say what would it be, I'd say probably not, frankly. Especially if you are working still and you're working in a state that has a state income tax. You're gonna have income from your labor and you're gonna have a state income tax. You move to a Tennessee with no state income tax and you're not working, and it only makes sense to wait until then. That's Chris and Megan, right on. It's refreshing to hear someone express their true opinions with a little fear of reprisal. You are honest. I love it. Amen. Hey, right on, Mary. Thanks. Yeah. Chris, people take what they want. I don't care. I mean, it's fine. I get it. John says, John Paulson. Whoa, the John Paulson? Of course, you are the John Paulson. There's only one John Paulson. That's you. He says, thanks for helping me not fear retirement planning. Mark said, been a USA customer for over 35 years. Yeah. Phil says, I'm married, 59, and just received a $30K windfall. I wonder where I should put the money. It depends on what, man, it depends on what you got. Phil, if you got debt, pay that sucker off, man. If you got no debt and you don't think you need the scratch anytime soon, well, just invest and be done with it. It really depends on what you're looking at. It's tough to say. Sent to Worcester. You can say Rob from Worcester says send it to Rob W, aka Bruins fan. Just Roth and an investment account. I'm behind the comments. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. K Payne, Virginia now is right on. It's a shame that even the 80s 35K a year was barely okay. Was it? I don't think that's true. In the 80s, well, if we got, I don't have it up there. If we use, well, I'll tell you what, hold on just a second. Let's take a look at, shall we, at the Social Security indexing tables. If I can get my computer to work, and we'll see what 35K in 1985 was. If I can get the computer to open up, and there we go. All right, so we're going to look at the indexing tables, and we're going to see. All right, we're going to see what the indexing tables were in 1980s. So let's see here. So we will, bear with me just a second. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Hold on just a second. And we're using someone who was a client, had paid me to be a client of mine, and she allowed me to use her Social Security info, which I'm using as real world examples. All right, so you're not going to be able to see this, but we call her Julie in this book, and this is table. I'm sure y'all can't see that. That's table 13. Make sure nothing this, and that's that's, you can't see it. But anyway, so in 1985, for Julie, who was born in 1958. So Julie was born in 1958. In 1985, the indexing was 3.078. So what we do is we take our $35,000 that we made in 1985 and we times that by 3.078, and that gives us the equivalent of $107,000 in today's income relative to Social Security. And the reason I want you all to understand how this works, because in 1989 was my first full year as a private E1 in the Army. And unfortunately, I stayed in E1 for basically the first year because I got a couple of Article 15s. And if you're from the military, you know what an Article 15 is, because I was a rabble-rouser, always been a troublemaker. My first year, I made $7,400 in 1989. And if you take the indexing factor for me, which I don't have at my fingertips, that $7,400 in 1989 is the equivalent of, I think it's like $32,000 or something like that this year. So I can't remember what it was, but it's don't underlook or overlook whatever the indexing stuff. I'm telling you, man, that is huge. And it'll give you more confidence. It'll give you more confidence. Say, 35 in 1980s is pretty good money. And because of that, they'll give me pretty good money with an indexing factor when it comes to my Social Security benefits. Let's see. Congrats. Found your passion. You get a plane. Hire me as your mechanic. I'm never getting a plane, Harry, because I don't want to spew CO2 in the environment. All right. So I don't like to fly. Actually, I love CO2, but I don't like to fly. Your channel's a huge help, says Lance. He's been learning, trying to help parents out. Right on. What do you think of the low volatility? Hey, thanks, Rich. Rich just gave me a big, hold on a second. You see me wincing every now and again, and I can't, I'm behind you guys, so I can't see if there's some fool on there acting stupid. Like we had, every now and again, we get some idiot on here. If y'all see that, let me know. Low volatility ETFs. Hate them, Mike. Hate them, hate them, hate them. Anything that's low volatility, they're trying to say, we'll give you stock market-like returns with a lot of volatility taken away. You can't have it like that. Look, there's something called the defined risk, DRC, defined risk something from Swan Investments. I like that. I'm not saying anyone on here should buy it. In fact, you should not buy it because I don't want anyone saying, you recommend this recommendation. Swan out of Colorado, I think. Swan Risk, anyway, defined risk something. Swan, SWAN, defined risk is DRC. I forgot what the C stands for. I like that because they're literally hedging. All right, they're hedging. They're saying we are going to buy options, put options that we can use to basically put stuff back when the market falls against us. That's if you're going to have downside risk protection, then friggin' buy the insurance. That's what a put option is. That's what options are. You're buying the insurance to protect your downside. It inherently makes sense. It's the only way to do it. All these low volatility stuff are low vol. Because I'm telling you, man, Mike, when I was a broker in 2006, we had this guy from Hartford come by my office. And I like this guy. He was a good guy. He didn't know any better than I did. But Hartford had give him this stuff, the sales literature to promote to brokers who were would listen. And his issue was we take these three things. One was a floating rate bond fund. And floating rate bond funds, I don't want to get too deep in here now, but they're short duration funds, short maturity, but they pay higher interest than a typical short duration, short maturity thing because they're basically lower credit quality bank loans, essentially. And I'm thinking, as a typical financial planner, financial advisor, investment jockey, I'm like, low duration, high returns, or high yields, that's good because duration is what most people look at as the risk of bonds. Well, what happened was we had this portfolio of stocks and something else, maybe international stocks, domestic, and then floating rate bonds. Well, guess what happened in 2007 and 2008? The floating rate bonds got destroyed. And so the low duration, i.e. the low volatility, was only low duration. It still was low duration, didn't matter, but the low volatility, the low risk because the duration wasn't there. Everyone got hammered. It's nuts. And I'll never forget that saying, man, just because it says it's low duration, low volatility, it's not. It's just not. So just take your lumps, man. Go in the market and be done with it. That's the way I look at it. You can't you can't get around it. And so you buy something like Swan Defined Risk thing, whatever it is, you know, the last 10 years, they haven't done crap. They haven't done crap. The 10 years before that, they did great because that's when the volatility was spiking at a high, huge downside risk. Because of that, their options did wonderfully well for them. So 10 years and same with the 712 portfolio too. My man Craig Israelson over at 712. The first 10 years of this century, those portfolios freaking shined. The last 10 years, they haven't done crap. And the reason for that is because there's two completely different decades of the investment cycle. So the low volatility, low duration kind of hedging stuff, it looks like crap now over the last 10 years, but over the previous 10 years, it looked freaking great. It looked great. And now, are we going into another thing like 10 years previous? I don't know. But I just think take your lumps and be in stocks. Okay. Heard about a 6 feet tall statistician that drowned in a pool of 3 feet average depth. Sunny Los Angeles, my man Sergio in the house. September 2019 marks TSP withdrawal options greatly improving. Finally getting out of the federal service this month. Roll IRAs or roll. Yeah, I'm not. All right, Matt and Tracy Nelms. I love the TSP. I've always said that. You can get better equivalents now with Vanguard, and you get better distribution options. I cannot stress enough the BPA, the beneficiary participant account. All right, so the options are fine now for you as the beneficiary, as the owner essentially. But if you leave it to a surviving spouse and they open up a beneficiary participant account for her or for him, those options are dwindled. On top of that, now the interesting thing is if you leave it to a non-spouse beneficiary, that's going to be like it's the Secure Act where they're getting rid of the stretch IRAs and stuff like that. Essentially, the TSP doesn't have a stretch IRA for non-spousal beneficiaries. So I'm just not a fan. And then, of course, never mind the things with durable powers of attorney and all that. It's just not. So it used to be the TSP was the only game in town, 5-10 years ago. But now you can roll it to Vanguard and pay, just as low fees and get much more options. And I don't think you need options. I just think you need low fees and access with different distribution mechanisms. So that's just my opinion. I wouldn't keep it TSP if that was me. Do your own research. I've been looking at USMV. Okay. Doug Carlin, Texas. Right on, man. 60 days till retirement. All right. I was held to 165 for. Are you getting ready to retire? You don't want a mortgage in retirement. Exactly right. Cincinnati in the house. Tim, Cincinnati. I think Josh would recommend you pay off. Did we ask a question? Yeah, I didn't see that, Tina. Did we ask a question on whether or not to pay off the mortgage? Des Moines, Iowa. Isn't that where the Iowa Cubs are? All right, let's see. I wonder if it'd be better to convert to a Roth firstly. Okay, I guess, yeah, good, man. You all talking to yourself. Rhonda, I love it. Prescott, Arizona. Notice how I call it Prescott and Amon Coos. It's Prescott. It's not Prescott. It's like Peabody. It's not Peabody. Interesting. I think BDC. Okay. Are you still on board with Vanguard? Yeah, I love Vanguard ETFs. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, for 200. Yeah, right on. No, well, appreciate y'all being here. Let's see. Had to end Ms. Tweety video early. Can you give us a summary? Did she make it? Vic, I think she did. Look, man. Some people are saying what was it? One guy, which was good comment, but he said if she would have maybe been a little bit more aggressive, he was, I don't want to say challenging, he was questioning that's not the right word, but he was wondering, I guess, as more of a why I was only using 7.5%, but he agreed with that. And I kind of already talked about that at the beginning of this video about my projections on the Right Capital software. The way I look at it, if you can get 65% on that Monte Carlo analysis, I'm very comfortable with that. And the reason for that is because adjusting for inflation is just not going to happen. BLS numbers would show the Consumer Expenditure Survey, the Health and Retirement Study over at University of Michigan, all the various studies are out there that shows people spend less in retirement. I didn't have the time for that, but she was tracking, and she had emailed me saying that her numbers. I was giving her a little bit short shift on some, in a nice way, that her numbers are actually better than what I was showing. she's going to make it without question. Now, again, it's all contingent. And I mean, everything's contingent on expenditures. And so this is why I say to people all the time, the idea that we're sitting there at 85 years old and all of a sudden we wake up and say, hey, Horace, we only got $10 in our checking account. We're running out of money. Well, you're not going to wait until you have that last $10 to buy that last pack of Cools to start tightening your belts. I mean, my goodness, no one's going to do that. And I just, the idea that, we have 200,000, now it's 150, now it's 100, now it's 60, now it's 20. No one's going to do it. People are going to tighten their belts well before then. It's just is all there is to it. And we did a reverse mortgage with Miss Tweedy. And that was fine. We didn't actually need to so much. But again, the whole thing, I just don't get the animosity towards reverse mortgages. I don't get it. I mean, you don't want to do one, that's fine, not you specifically. But you got this equity in your home, you're not moving. Why not do it? Well, because the fees are high. Well, you know what the fees going to be a hell of a lot higher for is you got to sell the house and go someplace else. I don't get the whole issue with the reverse mortgage with the fees on there. Not most people here aren't paying investment managers, but I hate to say it, but if you're worried about the reverse mortgage fee and you're paying some guy 1% a year to run your money, I think our priorities are out of whack. Look, I don't get paid by people who do reverse mortgages. I don't care. I sit there and I see trillions of dollars in equity that people have. And I say, why would you not? I mean, especially if you got if you're 68 years old and you got a mortgage at $700 a month and your cash flow is tight and you got 200,000 equity in your home, why would you just do a reverse mortgage if nothing else to pay off that mortgage that you already have? And then you're freeing up $700 right there. I don't get this issue against reverse mortgages. And I get it. I do, because I know that the media, the Washington Post, Dave Ramsey, probably Susie Orman's, they despise them because I guess we can get 12% in the market. Actually, my man Roth from PEI sent me a rant that Dave Ramsey talked about from 2014 about, expectations of a 12% a year. And that was weird. That was weird. That was 5 years ago. I'm hoping Dave has been somewhat humbled. I bet he hasn't been because the market has done very well since then. But I was watching him, with his 12% a year return justification and, calling us who disagree with that pointy heads who don't ever help people and stuff. I don't get why we gotta. It was just weird. I was exceedingly disappointed with Dave on that because it was mean-spirited, and I don't think you need to be like that. I mean, this is odd. And I guarantee he uses American funds in Franklin because he says, I've had funds that have been around since the 30s and 40s that have averaged over 12% a year going back to then. Okay, that's fine. But those American funds in Franklin and they're commission-based funds. I love American funds. I love the Franklin Income Fund. If you got to pay a commission for it, I think it's fantastic. I have no problem with that at all. Don't pay a running fee for those funds or any fund, but certainly paying a commission for Franklin Income Fund or any of the American funds for the most part, I got no qualm with that. But to say they've done this since 1934, which the Income Fund of America, Investment Company of America has done, and then insinuate for it. It's just weird. What do you recommend? I didn't see what Lead B said. I don't understand. So I missed what the question was on that, Tina. So I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Where will S&P 500 be in a year? No idea. If I continue working at 72.5, can I acquire the RMDs and can continue contributing to my TSP? I don't know what the TSP does there, Cheese Bear. That's a good question. I'm not sure. You have to look up what the TSP mandates. I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question. My inclination is you probably could avoid the RMDs, but I just don't know. Richard says, my wife collects Social Security at 67. I want to collect spousal benefit and then switch at 70 to my benefit and have my wife switch to spousal. Okay. So that's restricted application. I don't think you can do that anymore, Richard. So when you go file, there's restricted application stuff here. You're basically bordering on file and suspend. We can't do that anymore. Yeah, I have to think that through a bit. I don't think that's gonna fly. A rate cut now is crazy. Inflation is on the way. What do you think of bank and energy stocks long term? Pat, I just go with the S&P 500 or the total stock index and be done with it. yeah, I don't think of anything, frankly. So Robert says, I wish I had more to offer you. I think at the end of the day, just be the index. Now, with that said, I'm a hypocrite because I don't have the index. I have value stocks, VTV, from Vanguard ETF. That is what I own, 100% in VTV, which will probably have some energy in bank stocks in there because of high dividends, low price to earnings ratios, the value orientation of them, low price to books. But so I'm a hypocrite. I say buy the index, and here I am buying a fraction of the index. The value index is usually 35 to 40% of the total S&P 500. The growth index is usually the majority of the index. So inherently, I'm leaving significant exposure on the table. And I think about that on occasion, but I just, at the end of the day, buy the cheap stuff and just be done with it. That's what I do. And, we'll see. I might be on here a year from now begging you all for money, say, please help a brother out because I have no money. Here's my hat in hand. But we shall see. Record high stop market, stay on the sidelines. Should I dollar cost average, lump sum, or market time? I'm not answering that, man. Robert, stay on the sidelines. What are you what are you waiting for to get back in? I mean, what is the impetus for you to jump back in? And if you say it's when the market settles down, that implies when the market is higher. And I don't understand. I don't understand that mentality. I just don't. I literally do not understand the mentality of market timing. In fact, that's the whole point of this whole, when I started this whole thing, I just showed people we have the 10, was it the 40? Let me go back on here again. Hold on just a second. I'm going to go back to, let's get out of that. I'm going to show you the charts because you can't use this anymore to show you the charts on the YouTube. You used to be able to go back and forth and show you like a webinar kind of thing. You can't do that anymore. So I'm going to show you if this chart, no, that's not going to show up. Hold on just a second. This could be weird. Hold on. I'm going to show you the chart I use if you missed the top 40 days on both sides. Here we go. All right. So here's, if you missed the top, let's see, y'all. It's going to be tough to see. I get it. All right. So if the problem with market timing, missing the best days, and you just on the community tab, you'll see this post in all of its glory. 20 years from 1998 to 2017. If you missed the 10 best days, your S&P 500 annual return is only 3.53%. You missed 67% of the best of the entirety of the S&P 500 if you just missed the 10 best days in the last 20 years. It's crazy. If you just because the S&P 500 averaged 7.2% from 1/1/98 until 12/31/2017. If you just missed the 10 biggest gains, you would have missed more than half that return. It's crazy. If you would have missed the 20 biggest gains, you would have missed 91% of the returns. You would have only averaged 1.1%. Now, people say all the time, yeah, but what about if I missed the what if I missed the worst days? And we'll show you that. So if we miss the worst days, the worst 10 best days, or the 10 worst days, your returns would have been 11.31 as opposed to 7.2%. So the issue here, though, is there's never been a guy or lady who's ever said one time what's going to happen the next day and be proven correct, ever. And they certainly haven't done it for 20 days in terms of 10 best and 10 worst. That has never happened, ever. Yet if you would have done nothing but sat in the market and just looked out the window, you would have averaged 7.2% a year, which exactly is a doubling of your money every 20 years. Because we would have said 7.2, you start with $100,000. In 10 years, that's worth $200,000. In 20 years, that's worth $400,000. So that's I would have taken that. High interest savings may be better than bonds. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, Lance. I just say without question, CDs. What would you convert bonds to then? Let's see. What do you think about Michigan for retirement? In year 20, we'll be taxing both Social Security and pensions. If born after 54, is it worth moving to a state like Florida or Nevada? Uh, yeah, but I mean, if you keep your income pretty low, I mean, I got all these videos on how state by state in a book. If you keep your income, you usually below $60,000. Your state is, and I tell people this all the time in California and Maryland, even New Jersey. I mean, the property tax is the issue. It's not the income tax. And if you can keep your income low, you're just not, the state doesn't get you. It's not, it's the feds that get you. And Michigan has low property tax. So I don't think you should just flee because they're going to tax Social Security. Well, let's just, here, I'm going to try something real quick. This will be fun. Bear with me just a second. We're going to go to Heritage Wealth Planning. So I'm going to go to my website, heritagewealthplanning.com. And then I'm going to go to tax tools. And who is this? Miss Bella S. All right. So we're going to go to interactive tax page. And we're going to say you've got $30,000 in Social Security and $30,000 in IRA distributions. So bear with me just a second. Oh, man. There you go. And we're going to see, and we're going to say you're married. All right. So we're going to see what the great state of Michigan is doing from a tax perspective in that regard. So we got $30,000 in Social Security. And again, $30,000 Social Security, $30,000 IRA distribution, that's $60,000 of total gross income. And we're going to say you were born in 1958, right there. And we'll say you're married. All right. And we are going to say, what is your taxes in the state of Michigan? $924. That's it. $924. There's no reason to flee the state of Michigan for that. None whatsoever. Let's just say you got $20,000 of Social Security and $20,000 of IRA distributions. And IRA distributions is all encompassing. That's just basically whatever's taxed as ordinary income. It could be bond interest, it could be a pension. It's all encompassing. It doesn't really matter. Some states it does matter. In that case, you're only paying $499 to the state of Michigan. That's nothing. I wouldn't flee the state just because of that. And then in Michigan, you got low property taxes too. Now, I have no idea how much it costs to heat your home, none whatsoever. But you know, you're going to sacrifice the cost to heat your home to go to Nevada, where you're going to be running the air conditioning on all day long. That's not fun. eMoney is the software that Fidelity offers all of its, I think all of its customers, which is fantastic. What do you think of Vanguard Mortgage-Backed Securities Index Fund, or Ginnie Mae? I love Ginnie Mae. I've talked about Ginnie Mae a million times a Sunday. So VFIIX, big fan. But right now, Ginnie Mae isn't doing anything relative to CDs. So at the end of the day, CDs are still the way to go with the bond rates the way they are now. So mortgage-backed securities aren't going to give you any more bang for your buck than CDs. And there's still a little bit of downside volatility. CDs have none. Name my book, Pat, is going to be You Can Retire on Social Security. Yes, you can. You can. I prove it. Proof pudding. What software allow projections based on withdrawals from regular accounts at different amounts? Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I just know the right capital won't be able to pick up the specific. You can't say take from 401k first and then these accounts. It just won't let you do that. So that's why you got to do Roth conversions. No software I've ever seen allows you to do that. That might have changed. I haven't looked at software in the last year and a half. I don't recall eMoney allowing you to do that either, but I might. But thank you, Rich. $1.99 is well spent. Cup of coffee, it'll be used well. Just home for my crappy old job. Beth, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Well, hopefully when you read my book, you'll realize that you can retire from Social Security. How detailed should you try to make a retirement plan for 2026 if the tax law revert? Lori from Minnesota. Yeah, I don't know, Laura. I mean, just you got to do what you got to do. I mean, this kind of like where what's his name? Rick Edelman says discounts Roth IRA conversions because at some point the feds are going to change the tax laws. They need the money. They're going to come after you with pitchforks. No, you work with what you have. You play the game with the team that you have, or what's the name says? You go to war with the army you've got. This is what we know. We know this right now. So just use what you can, and the tax chips will fall where they may. Is there a minimum that Social Security pays retirees? I imagine the minimum would be $1, sure. It really depends on what your average index monthly earnings is, or your survivor benefit or spousal benefit, for sure. Big companies cutting pensions via merger splits. They can creatively make it disappear. Saving your 401k if you want more than Social Security. Yeah, Rick Edelman's got a huge. I don't. When I used to listen to Rick Edelman, Jack, back in the early '90s, back in when I lived in Alexandria, Virginia, I don't remember having that such a big ego. But I've listened to him last few years, and it just seems like it's growing. And now his firm is located in California with Financial Engines. They merged with Financial Engines, and I think Rick got paid a pretty penny. And his ego is. He's trying to be more of a futurist as opposed to just a financial guy anymore. He's trying to be more of a futurist and be like a George Gilder type, where we're going in the future and all that. The difference between Gilder is Gilder has an incredible mind. Rick Edelman doesn't. I'm not saying stupid, but the mind of a George Gilder, man. That guy's nuts. Do I feel a major adjustment is coming to the stock market? At some point, sure. Absolutely, Victor. Always happens. Do you recommend taking lump sum over pension annuity? It's Arno Marcus. Okay. All right. So do I recommend? It completely depends on the payout ratio. And I did this in detail a couple times, and I just think it's important to do it again. If you get $100,000 is your lump sum that you could roll into an IRA, and your payout is going to be $6,500 a year. So that's a 6.5% payout percentage relative to your lump sum. I would probably take that. I'd take the payout. If my lump sum is, if my payout is $5,000 on a $100,000 lump sum, I'd probably take the lump sum. So basically, there's a divide. Now you also got to look at who asked that, Paul. If it's a joint life survivor annuity, which it always should be, or if you're single, if it's just a single life annuity, and that's fine. So if it's a single life annuity, the payout ratios will be higher. So 6.5 and higher, I would take the pension. If it's a joint life survivor annuity and the payout ratio is 6% or higher, and this is no right or wrong here, even 5.5%, I would probably take the pension. If it's a payout ratio that's lower than 5.5 and 5%, I would take the lump sum as a rollover, not as a just give me a check. I take that to roll over to an IRA. Where can I get access to the Wade File reverse mortgage calculator? At retirementresearcher.com. The retirementresearcher.com. So any earnings after 62 can't be added to your AIM? Yeah, absolutely they can. Without question, Jerry. So the question is, can earnings made after age 62 be added to your average index monthly earnings? The answer is unequivocally yes. They won't be indexed. They'll just be increased with the cost of living. So once you hit 60, your indexing amount is 1. Instead, they use the COLAs as opposed to the average, the indexing amount. Just keep that in mind. But absolutely. So if you got my man, Damn Surfer, had 22 years and he worked a couple jobs, digging ditches for $30,000 a year. Well, now he's going to have 24 years. So he got rid of some zeros. So he had 13 years of zeros and 22 years of earnings. He worked a couple more years, even as an 89-year-old man. Now he got rid of some of those zeros. And he replaced some of the earned income, and that will adjust his Social Security benefit. Absolutely. Get in and stay in. Keep getting in just like you get in your car every day, go to work consistently, get in the market, stay in. I 100% agree. All right, so Lee's question was, should she take 160 out of a regular IRA to pay off a mortgage? Yeah, how did I miss that? I missed that, Lee. So, no, I don't think you should do that at all. Absolutely. Why don't you? No. You don't want to get hit. Why don't you just amortize it over 3 years or something like that, Lee? So you got $160,000. Let's say that's your mortgage, or you can amortize that over 4 years, $40,000 a pop. Yeah, because you don't want to be jumped in that 24%, especially if you already retired 3 years ago. That would tell me your Social Security is going to be subject to higher taxes. You're certainly going to be subject, if you're on Medicare, to higher Medicare Part B and Part D. That 160 right there. Even if you're married filing jointly, you're going to be above the threshold to have increases on your Medicare B and D. And on top of that, if you have any qualified dividends, QDIs, any long-term capital gains, they're no longer be subject to zero tax. They'll probably no longer be subject to 15% tax. They'll probably be subject to 20% tax. And now you're even looking at the Obamacare healthcare Medicare surcharge of 3.8. net investment income tax. I don't think I'd be messing around with that. So there's a lot more than just that 24%, my friend. So I would try to, or you could do an annuity. You could take it in. I did this last week. I think I did a video on this. Should I take an income annuity in order to delay Social Security? You can always do an income annuity, but don't do it for a certain fixed time. You do it for the rest of your life, but that probably wouldn't give you that much of an income stream to pay off your mortgage within a couple of years. So I don't think I'd be doing that. So what I would do is I say, look, I got $160,000 on my mortgage. I'm going to take $40,000 a year out over the next 4 years and pay that sucker off. That makes sense. And you probably won't get hammered for the other taxes, but I don't know your situation. So, oops, missed something. 9:06 p.m. Investment management 1%. Is that typical? Oh yeah. K-Payne investment management 1% is typical. In fact, my man Rick Edelman, I think they charge even more than on the front end. Crazy. Bruce, yep. 9:06. Reverse mortgages allow you to leave assets and equity to grow at 7 to 8% at the expense of your home that will appreciate 2 to 3%. I couldn't agree more. I just wish they had better calculators out there for reverse mortgages. That's for sure, because they don't show the line of credit. What I can tell, and it's, I think they're making a huge mistake that there's not a lot of good reverse mortgage calculators out there. What do you think of investing in VOO? A huge fan of VOO. VWO is fine. I don't know those other ones, but VOO and VWO, got no problem there. Someone just gave me $5, much appreciated, whoever that was. They'll go to a cup of coffee. Just keep me going here. Keep me going. Trying to be oh, thanks. Rob, what's Rob says, here's $4.99 for my next private jet to attend a climate change conference. And where's New Zealand? We'll go to one in New Zealand because that it'll be run on batteries power. Oh man, Rob, that's freaking nuts. I'm 68 going to, folks, I just got to say this. You can't fly and be green. You can't do it. You can't do it. You cannot get in an airplane. I'm going to watch the people level off. I got 181 now, so let me just see. You cannot sit there and say you're worried about CO2 and then get in an airplane and fly. You can't do that. The two things are mutually exclusive. The level of CO2 you're spewing into the atmosphere, if you're worried about it, by being on the airplane is worse than almost any other thing you can do other than being on a ship, a big ship, a cruise ship, or a skidoo. You can't do that stuff. So if you're going to get on a cruise ship or you're going to get on an airplane and you're saying you're worried about CO2, your priorities are messed up. That's all there is to it. And I don't hold you. Look, you fly. I don't care. But just don't say I'm flying and at the same time I'm worried about CO2. Those two things are mutually exclusive. Can't do it. But I got to fly this climate conference in New Zealand to tell them how much I hate CO2. How did AOC get to south of Texas to protest the border? They think she took a bicycle down there? I just hate the hypocrites, man. That's what I can't stand. And if you're going to ship goods from China, those goods are coming here by airplane or they're coming by boat. One of those two things. They don't get there in a freaking stork with his belly full of goods to drop off at your house. They're getting here by fossil fuels. Drives me up the wall. I'm 68, going to retire in 6 to 8 months. Can I figure all this out by myself, or I need a financial plan? Catherine, you're asking a financial planner if you need our services. The answer is, of course you do. No, you can figure this stuff out yourself. Absolutely. The issue, and this is, how can I say this without sounding self-absorbed? You don't know what you don't know. All right, so let's go back to what someone else just asked about taking out $160,000. Lee asked about taking $160,000 out from her IRA, recognizing she's going to pay 24% income tax to pay off a mortgage. What did she miss? She missed all the other stuff that goes with that. Do I yell at Lee and say, Lee, what are you, stupid? No, she just didn't know. Why? Because she probably doesn't do this all the time. Not even that many financial planners do this all the time. That's the thing that concerns me the most. He pays some freaking maroon, and he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. And you're out freaking $2,000, $5,000, $1 million from this guy. And I'm like, well, you're worse off because you're out that guy fee and you don't got any good planning. Anyway, so that you're gonna have to think about that. I charge $2,500. I'll tell you up front. If you have a liquid net worth of over $500,000, my financial planning fee is $2,500. I cannot guarantee you'll be successful. I cannot guarantee, and I'm not saying this to you, Catherine. I cannot guarantee you'll be satisfied. I will guarantee I will tell you the truth that you're in a world of hurt or you're going to do just fine. Usually, I will tell you, most people who hire me, their ducks are usually in a row. Let's just put it that way. They're usually frugal-minded people. Like minds think alike. Let's just put it that way. I don't get a lot of spendthrifts that pay me $2,500. I just don't, because most people that find my YouTube channel informative and appreciative, they follow the tried and true, which is be diligent savers, spend according to what you have. A lot of people are givers, lots of gifting and tithing and stuff, and that's just the basics of my YouTube channel. That's not everybody, but most people who look out and reach out to me are looking at it more for just, they're usually in pretty good shape, but they just want a second opinion from a guy who's going to shoot straight with them. That's what I promise, but I cannot promise anyone will be happy. And I don't offer refunds. I don't have time to look at your stuff. Again, not just you, man, but anybody, and say, okay, it didn't work out like we thought. Here's your money back. I don't, because every hour, 2 hours, 5 hours I'm taking on your stuff is time that I'm not doing other things, which I got 8,000 books on this noggin up here of mine that I want to get out there too. So, all right, Mike says, low volatility ETF I've been looking at are all 100% equities. They just pick stocks and sectors that are, see, that's the thing, are expected to go down less in a bad, see, that's market timing. I mean, Mike, I'm not going to yell at you if you do it. Just expect it to go down in a market vol, going down less in a bad market, unless I don't like it. Yeah, so here's Lee. She's it's complicated, 61 now, so she's not taking Social Security. Nice IRA. So Lee, if I were to do that, then I would defer my Social Security and I would defer my pension until you got that money out of you. And you're not on Medicare right now either. So if you're going to do that, where you're taking that 160 out, wait for Social Security, and if you can, wait to take your pension and just get that sucker done without question. If you're going to do that, you will pay 24%. The other stuff will be secondary because you're not on Medicare. I'm going to predict you don't have a lot of taxable money in terms of qualified dividends and long-term capital gains. And it's he, not she. Okay, someone said she. Sorry, Lee. Robert's the man. Yeah, Mark says she. Right on. Mark, make sure it's an electric plane. Social Security from one married person at 60,000 is more than Social Security at two married people at 40. Yeah, that's right. In fact, it's funny, Jay Snyder, 303. Is that 303? Is that Colorado? I use that in my book. I use Social Security with the median income at 60,000, and then I divide it for two spouses at 30/30, and the Social Security at 60,000 is more with a spousal benefit, not substantially, but a little bit, than two Social Securities at 30/30. It's interesting. I actually have tables on that. While you're in New Zealand, you can turn your assault rifle in collection? No, I'd rather not. Still trying to get a definition of what exactly assault rifle is. Oh, it's black. It has a pistol grip. Oh, it's an assault. It has a flash suppressor. Oh. I was watching some idiot the other day talk about the 5.56 round or 2.23 and how violent that was. And I said, man, just maroons. I just, the YouTube, when I first started the channel, and they don't do it anymore, they had a guy shooting 12 gauge. And I just, the level of violence a 12 gauge shotgun can do relative to a 5.56 is mind boggling. And this is after the, when was it? The big, the killing spree that some ass clown did, I forgot. And all the anti-gunners were saying, AR-15s, I forgot what it was. And I said, man, if you were worried about violence of a firearm, AR-15, that's freaking, that's like a 22. My God, man. 12. Anyway, I laughed. I didn't laugh because it's horrible that these freaking idiots are killing people. I hate that crap. But the idea that old Josh is having access to my AR-15s is going to make anyone more less safe is just nuts. It's kind of like my whole thing on legalizing dope. The idea, oh my goodness, dope is legal. Josh is going to start sniffing up his nose. No, it's not going to happen. Well, I watch the people. I completely think there should be complete war on drugs is lost. Way too many people are in jail for no reason at all. We should get out of it. I've been saying it since 1993 when I wrote an article for the George Mason student newspaper that said legalize it all. And I still believe that. Heroin, you want to do heroin? I don't care. Go ahead, be my guest. But at the end of the day, legalize it because there are people who are addicts who cannot get the dope they need. And because of that, they're just dying on the streets. And it's horrific. We know this. And I just believe that 100% prohibition is evil. Anyway, the idea people say, well, if we legalize it, everyone's going to do dope. I'm like, I don't think so. Anyway, it's kind of like if we legalize firearms, everyone's going to start shooting each other. And yet, well, let's go to Wyoming. How many people are dying in Wyoming? I guarantee there's quite a few firearms in Wyoming. Oh, let's just go to Texas. How many people are dying from firearms in Texas? Not that many. And I think Texas has a few firearms there. Let's give human beings the benefit of the doubt that they're probably going to do okay without the government regulating their friggin' every activity. All right. Never mind flushing my damn toilet. Oh, my goodness. Nancy Pelosi tells me the size of my freaking GPF, gallons per flush. That's nuts. All right. You make us laugh. Take an e-bike. Yes. Looking at Vanguard, man. Yeah, Mark. Someone asked me, I don't think it was you, but someone asked me to do a thing on managed payout fund. Hasn't been around long enough, the Vanguard managed payout fund, to really give it any kind of structure. I don't have anything to say on it. It just hasn't been around long enough. So I don't know. A bunch of you cannot drive a fossil fuel car and be green either. Yeah, but fossil, maybe. But I kind of agree with that without question. I mean, if you're sitting in a commute all the way down to 400, sitting an hour and a half each way to Atlanta, Buckhead, or even Midtown, I look, man, I don't argue that for sure. The flying is the big one though, for sure. Flying, but no, I agree with that. I don't have any problem with that. Many reverse mortgage brokers shy away from the LLC line of credit. They get income on the initial disbursement. They will not try to push you. My man Sergio. Many reverse mortgage brokers shy away from the line of credit option. They get income on the initial disbursement. Really? Huh. That's interesting. I would have thought they got credit on the amount of credit that's extended, not the actual disbursement amount. That is interesting, Sergio. I did not know that. That is interesting. Huh. Sorry for the pause there. That's just that's kind of like the life insurance guys are always pushing you into significant cash value life insurance with significant upfront payments, premiums, because they get paid 63% of the first year premium. A lot of these guys do. So if they can get you at a premium that's pretty high, they get pretty good payment on that for sure. That's interesting. I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, when you talk about conversions, you never mentioned FICA and self-employment tax. Yes, absolutely. When you're doing conversions, absolutely no FICA without question whatsoever. It's not earned income. And so because it's not earned income, it's not subject to any of that. It's subject to income tax. It's not subject to 10% penalty either. Someone asked me about that the other day, and it's absolutely not subject to 10% penalty. Yeah, Ed says, any place for precious metals in my investments? Absolutely. I think everyone should hold some gold bullion, not gold mining stocks, but actual gold. I'll say this too, I'm blue in the face. Gold it goes back to before Jesus' time, but we know it's biblical. And I cannot tell you the stories of people who needed gold to get out of when the communists took over. Just all there is to it. And so gold will always have a place of value to some degree. But I think a lot of people forget, I know I did, is that people forget that, after FDR up until Nixon, it was illegal for you to own gold. So we don't have a market per se to analyze what gold did from 1934 to 1972 or something, maybe 74, something like that. It was illegal. You had to turn it in by threat of law. It's crazy. So it's like anything that that gets rid of the market, we had no prices to evaluate on that. So because of that, we don't have a broad history of the actual price of gold. But we do know it, even when it was illegal, it still retained a value there for sure. Just like drugs do today. It's amazing. Just because you make it illegal, it doesn't go away. But I just think having some gold bullion is absolutely the way to go. I had bought some 1/10 of ounces. So I had this whole tub of 1/10 ounces of gold. Don't do that. They're way too light. They're lighter than a dime. All right. And I lost one. And that's about $130. So that I lost it. I put it in an Easter basket for one of my kids, and I don't know what happened to it. So don't buy those tiny 1/10 of an ounce of gold coins. Buy a 1/4 ounce and certainly full ounces too. But remember, if you have a full ounce and gold is trading at $1,300 an ounce, and you need to exchange barter of some sort, and the only thing you have is this 1 ounce of gold coin, that you're not going to be able to divide that up. You're not going to go back to Caesar's time where they could manipulate the currency like they could back then. You can't. So you definitely want to have some smaller coinage that you can trade if every time that were to come. Resting in 2 years, 2 government pensions may need TSP annuity to live just because of. Yeah, Darius, it's hard to say, man. I think you're saying retiring in 2 years. Okay, retiring in 2 years, 2 government pensions may need TSP annuity to live. Really? Even though you got the 2 government pensions? Are you CSRS? Because if you're FERS, you'll still have Social Security. So you have 2 government pensions plus Social Security. Would you really need the TSP annuity on top of that? Yeah. Eisman says, I hate guns, but watching conservatives savagely beaten in the streets, I get you. But don't hate inanimate objects. Guns are literally, there's nothing to hate about them. They can't do anything. I mean, you can hate the guy who shoots them, certainly, but not the gun itself, the firearm itself. I mean, it's an inanimate object, just like an annuity. People say, I hate annuities or I hate life insurance. Well, those things, they're inanimate. They have no value to them other than how they're used. So don't blame the gun, blame the person who uses it incorrectly for sure. Catherine says, yeah, you got it, Catherine, right on. Well, I'm glad you're here. Funny how all these gun experts harp on the AR-15, but never mention the 12 gauge. If I had to be in the receiving end, take they do, man. Sequence of return risk. Yep. So basically retire into a down market. That's horrible. 1973, 1974. If you were to retire in the beginning of 1973, you were in a world of hurt, and yet that's just bad luck. And unfortunately, if you were retired in 1975, the world was your oyster. If you were retired in 1982, you're a freaking happy camper, which is why all these baby boomers are going to be putting their second houses on the market because they retired in 1982, or the early part of the baby boomers. They retired, not the baby, I guess it would be the early baby boomers, right? Yeah, probably. They retired in the late 80s, early 90s when they had huge, or in the late 90s too, huge amounts of money. The markets just went up and up and up and up from 82 to 99. So they're able to convert a lot of that money into homes, second homes and whatnot. Ever since then, it hasn't been like that. So because if you were to retire in 2000, I don't say you're doomed, but you certainly could be. It's all about luck. You retire in 1982 or retire in 2000. The guy who retired in 1982 is freaking hog heaven. The guy retired in 2000 is not. It has nothing to do with their skill set, their ability to call the market. Just has to do with the luck. And that's what the sequence of return risk is, which is why I advocate keeping 3 to 5 years in CDs without question. CDs, just say I'm putting in CDs. That way I don't have to draw down assets when the market's getting hammered. Yeah, look, it's the easiest way to do it is the most efficient in terms of efficient market hypothesis or modern portfolio theory. No, it's not. It's easy. That's what makes it simple. And because it's easy and simple, people will do it. Yeah, I got 3 years cash. I got 70% of my portfolio in stocks, 30% of my portfolio in CDs. Market gets tanks, I'm taking my money on my CDs. Market goes up, maybe I'll take the money from the market. In fact, I am going to do, I've been thinking about this a lot. Once this book is done, the video on taking money from whatever's up. So the market's up, pulling it. If the market's down, pulling from cash. What I've been doing on my previous videos on the barbell approach is just taking it the 3 years from CDs every year regularly. And now I want to start saying, no, let's take it from, if the market gives us, the market gives us gains, let's take them off the table and leave the cash alone. And then I'll switch back and forth. I think that'll be pretty interesting. I haven't done it yet. I don't know what it'll look like, but I think it'll be fun. My pension has already kicked in, says Lee. It's nice, but doing a bit of temp consulting now at $16K a month, so income is pretty high. Yeah, man. So in that case, when you take that $100,000, $160,000 from your IRA, you won't be at 24%, I imagine. I've been buying tubes of Silver Eagles. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Kevin. Tubes of Silver Eagles, love it. Moving funds in a Roth IRA when done over the next 3 years, 150K in Roth, 200 traditional. Where might I invest using your barbell long term? So if you're going to have any bonds, which you should not, but if you're going to have any bonds, they would be portion would be in your traditional IRA. Your stocks absolutely should be in the Roth. So dividend stocks, in particularly real estate investment trust. But it looks like if you don't have any other assets, everything would be in stocks. Would be 100% Roth. Would be stocks without question. You can still have CDs in an IRA, by the way. You can absolutely still have CDs in your IRA. So you can say your traditional would be part of the barbell. So you say, okay, I have my CDs, $80,000, whatever, and CDs in my IRA, and then the other 120,000 will be in stocks there as well, and slowly convert those to the Roth as you move. But there should never be bonds in a Roth, ever, ever, ever. No bonds in a Roth. No bonds in a Roth. No bonds in a Roth. The only true green operated car is one where it's 100% solar off grid charge, plugging in, makes coal-fired electric. Yep. Military and FERS pension. Yep. I'm trying to push Social Security. Yeah, right on, man. No, don't take Social Security at 62 while you got your pension. Nope. No way. Yeah, we want you to put Social Security back out as far as you possibly can. So what I start doing is I start pulling my TSP out before I tax Social Security. And the same thing for anybody. Pull your money out of your IRA before you start pulling Social Security. I'm just telling you, I've done 8 million videos on this, on the tax consequence. You'll be better off. Look, I'm saying this broad-based. I don't know your specific situation. I don't know. Generally speaking, you're going to be much, much better off if you reduce your TSP, your IRA, your 401k, and allow your Social Security to grow with the delayed credits. It's just Social Security is the most underutilized benefit there is. Don't be like that. Allow Social Security to serve the purpose that very few allow to do, which is the 8% delayed earnings credits with cost of living adjustments at 2.6, the mighty, mighty tax benefits of Social Security that you'll never get in your IRA. You got it, Derry, right on. How about 5 years in Wellesley? Man, Fred, I got no qualm with that. Yeah. Wellesley, so Wellesley, what, 30 stocks, 70 bonds, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that, Fred. Wellesley is a wonderful option. You can even argue 5 years in Wellesley and the rest in Wellington, I guess. That's a little bit too much in bonds, but that'd be 50-50. But you could argue 5 years in Wellesley and on the rest in the total stock index. That's not going to have any complaints from me. How's the garden coming? Yeah, too much rain here. Lost a bit, but we still have some green beans and tomatoes growing. Yeah. Man, I tell you what, I'm doing an experiment. So I bought 4 green pepper plants. Right on, Fred. Yeah, just remember, I do these every 8 o'clock Eastern time every Sunday, and they usually go on for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Unless Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals on. If the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals on, not doing this. Still pains me to this day. The Bruins against the Blues or the Patriots twice to the Giants. Which is more painful? Oh, yeah. I got to say the Patriots. That one, the 18-0, they had it. They had it. That interception that, what's his name, Rodney Harrison dropped. Wasn't Harrison dropped that interception that Eli threw? Would have been 19-0. Never have to hear them damn freaking Dolphins, Mercury Morris, and all those guys again. That hurt, man. Not going to lie to you. But you don't play the sports. You don't play? Yeah. But man, you get into it. There's no other way around it. They're your team. They're your boys. You want to see them win. And the garden. Anyway, so I'm doing an experiment. So I took 4 250 pepper plants from Walmart because they're all on sale now, and I'm just doing 4 different experiments. One, I'm to a complete composted soil. One, I'm just leaving in its container, not even doing anything with it. One, I cut the bottom off with just the little box cutter, and I put that into some composted soil, but I'm still leaving the top where it can grow. And then the other one I just put all into the ground, right into the ground, without any composted soil. So it'll be interesting to see. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. I ate a jalapeno pepper that was mild the other day, and that basically tore me up. That was horrific. I thought I was about to die. That was not good. And then I ate Steeler Nation. I freaking hate the Steelers. Hate the Steelers. Frank, excited. Look, I grew up loving the Pats and the Raiders. My granddad was a season ticket holder to the Oakland Raiders. Ken Stabler, Dave Casper, the whole crew, man. Jack Tatum, he hurt my man Darryl Stingley, and that was bad. But still, the Pats from Maine, the Raiders, because my granddad did, and Franco Harris, that immaculate reception. If you ever get a chance, just watch that highlight. And just how insane of a play that was. I mean, literally the last play, the Raiders are going to win that. Frenchie Fuqua, whatever, it bounces off him as he's getting stuck. I think it was by Tatum, and it hits. It's insane. It's literally the immaculate reception is insane. That's probably more insane than David Tyree, because don't forget, David Tyree, the Patriots could still have stopped them freaking clowns. That Franco Harris. No, you're crazy. Aquaponics. I did a lot last year, Greg. I was going to do some, and then my shoulder again. I didn't. I actually do a lot of aquaponics inside growing. Have a bunch of grow lights, and no, I don't grow dope. But if you want to be my guest, and if you want to smoke it, I don't care. But I'm a big fan of aquaponics, absolutely, and I do have. I've created some of my little. White trash aquaponics structures that are that work real well. Actually, I grew a nice blueberry bush of all things last year, which I since transplanted into the back, and it's growing like crazy, man. I didn't get that many blueberries off it this year because the birds got to it first, but I started a tiny little blueberry plant that I got from Lowe's. It just sticks. Put in aquaponics, and let that sucker go, and it was booming under a LED light. I forgot what it was off the top of my head. I can't remember. But yeah, a nice LED light, and I put that out at the beginning of the year. And that sucker's taken off. I absolutely going to do an in-house greenhouse with some strawberries and raspberries. Can't wait to do that. And then I'm going to actually build, when my arm is healed, I'm going to build a tiny little greenhouse out there. A small one, just to keep some more raspberry. We love raspberries. Some more raspberries out there. Can't wait. But no, aquaponics, huge fan. Hydroponics, haven't done. What's the one with the fish? Is that hydro? That's hydro, right? Haven't done that yet, but that looks pretty interesting to me. A little bit too user friendly. You a little bit too intense because of fish, but I'm a huge fan. Here in Indianapolis and saw it live, man. That's crazy. Send me a Steelers shirt. Yeah, my dad was a Pats fan. The Bears destroyed him. Stanley Morgan, man. Stanley Morgan had the ball right there, and he dropped it. Actually, turns out it was, I think, Gary Fensick knocked it out. So you didn't see that. I'll never forget. For the longest time, I blamed Stanley Morgan for dropping this ball that would have gave the Patriots a 7, maybe even a 10-0 lead. I can't remember. But anyway, and I always thought he just dropped it. Right there. Tony Eason had it right there in his bread basket, and it just dropped it. But I think Gary Fensick or maybe Dave Durson just got it a little bit enough to knock that out, and that was it. And after that, they couldn't. Tony Eason, he was scared. I mean, let's put it this way: he was scared. He was scared. They even put Grogan back in there, but you know who didn't get a touchdown? Walter Payton. What's up with that? Josh, hope you're ready to come in last place in the division this year. The Ravens. I hate the Ravens. But you see, you have to have a team you hate too. That's the thing with hockey. I love all the teams in hockey. I mean, I just love hockey. But it's not as exciting as when the Patriots play the Ravens and they're down. Remember that? 28-14 and 14-0 came back to win. because I hate the Raiders or the Ravens. Hate them. And I can't stand the freaking Steelers either. I will tell you real quick. I'm yapping here. There's a play that Drew Bledsoe. So Tom Brady goes down against the Steelers in the AFC Championship. I can't do it my right. I will never forget this floater that Drew Bledsoe did on third down. I think it was 17 or something like that, over the linebacker's head, right into the breadbasket. I think it was Troy Brown. I'll never forget. That was probably the best pass I've ever seen in my life. I said, man, that guy Bledsoe, that guy was freaking nuts. The fact that Brady was able to keep his job with that guy as a backup, I'll never forget that. I watched that highlight again, the whole game. I think my boys and I just watched that in the off week before the Super Bowl this year, and watched that Steelers-Patriots, the first AFC Championship with Tom Brady, and just that on 3rd and 17. And that if Bledsoe doesn't make that pass, we might not be talking the way we are about Tom Brady right now. It was nuts. Tatum, great buck. I didn't know Jack Tatum went to Ohio State. Interesting. That's a good question, man. If I'm a workplace drug testing, I don't know. I think the employee. See, I believe in right to work. I mean, or it's at work. If the employer wants to fire your ass, they get to fire your ass. And they say, we don't want you having the potential for, being on drugs, we can fire you. I don't have any, I think that's where a free society is. You have the right to quit. They have the right to fire you. And so with that said, I don't make too much of a thinking about it, my man, about workplace drug testing. I mean, if they want to do that because they want a clean employee group, I don't have any qualm with that. I don't. And you don't have that's the thing. You don't have a right to work there. I don't know. The whole thing now that says, I have to go, this whole thing about smoking. This is where I lost my patience with the Republican Party. In Virginia, this is back in the 90s. This were Philip Morris's in Richmond, by the way. And in Virginia, they passed a law you couldn't smoke in bars and restaurants. And I always said, why? And I remember I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a pretty, Republican guy, pretty right wing. He goes, well, I don't want to go in that bar and have to smell like smoke because I don't smoke. I said, well, then don't go. He goes, but I want to. I said, well, just because you want to, your rights supersede the guy who actually risks his capital and the ownership of it. Just you go someplace else. And he's like, no, I shouldn't have to. And then the argument was, how about the employees that work there? They're going to have to breathe in secondhand smoke. I said, well, they have a right not to go work there too. I mean, if you don't like it, then leave. I hate to sound like that, but what happened since when does the consumer get the rights over the proprietor in that regard? I don't get it. And that's in Virginia, in the Republican Party, it was, we got past banning smoking in bars and stuff. Now, I don't smoke, and I can't stand it. I used to a long, long time ago, and I can't stand the smell of cigarettes anymore. But if someone's smoking in a bar and I don't want to smell the smoke, then I'm leaving. It's that simple. I don't get why. And anyway, the whole point was the Republican Party was conservative until actually freedom was at stake. And then the whole thing just ticked me off. I said, you guys aren't for freedom. You guys are for conservative control, but you're against liberal control, but you're still for control. Yeah, the two Eli Manning ones. Yep. Stanley Morgan is one of the. Yeah, well, we talked about was one of the most underrated receivers of all time. Yep, exactly. Brady is Steelers' daddy. Rob, we're gonna make a lot of enemies on here. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Bledsoe is awesome. Go Saints. Oh man. Oh boy, Tina, stopping smoking in public places. We're just gonna have to agree to do so. I'm not saying it wasn't a good public health initiative, but how many other things could there be good public health initiatives that the government can dictate? The way I look at it like this, I guarantee if you did a study of all violence that happens in the United States, I guarantee the majority, if not the vast majority, would have some kind of alcohol related. Guarantee. Guarantee. So if we're going to be looking at public health, don't we say what's the biggest cause, the correlation between people getting just destroyed and alcohol? There's a huge correlation there. And because of that, don't we need to say, well, we need to have prohibition because we'll keep people from engaging in activities that could lead to violence, which actually there is. And I see that's the thing, Tina, is I think we can say the public health that comes from all this is, oh yeah, all right. It's almost 10 to sign out. Yeah, man, I'll get ready. I find that to be a very slippery slope because we can always argue it's for the kids. That's what, and I'm not saying you're saying that, Tina. I get your argument. I get it. It's for the kids. I just, I don't know, slippery slope, and seeing the people who should be on the side of freedom, i.e., the conservative side, and just they're so willing to get to allow our freedoms to be reduced each and every day. It's frightening. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Indeed, no, alcohol is not in the air, but but they're consuming it, and then they're going to commit crimes against people who did not consume it. That's what I'm trying to say. So your argument is you're getting a secondhand smoke of no choice of your own, but I'm getting hit by a guy in a car who was drinking or who freaking shot as a drunken skunk or did all these kind of things when he was drunk. And I had no part in that. I was just going home to work that day. Yeah, I don't think you can legislate morality. I just don't. I think that's that. We'll save this for another day. Blessings to y'all. Tina, you're still my friend, no matter what you say. It's all good. And we'll see you next Sunday. And then we'll do some more videos as we're coming this week. We'll see you guys. Thanks now.